Good evening and welcome to the Four Lads Sunday Show. Tonight we're going to be having a wee look back at what's happened in the last 2 weeks since we were on, but we'll also be looking ahead to a big few weeks of football that's going to be coming up for Rangers. As always, I'm joined by the wonderful Mark Morrison and Sheryl Ritchie tonight, but before I say hello to them, I need to mention the sponsors of the Sunday Show, local dart shop online. John and the team have been the exclusive sponsors of the Sunday Show all season, and we really appreciate their support. Make sure you visit them at www.localdartshop.co.uk, where you can get all your dart supplies and setups for your home. Now, on to my guests. First up, we'll go for Mr. Mark Morrison. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing all good, mate. I thought I would have calmed down after that, since it's been a few hours, but no, I'm still pretty pissed. I'm not going to lie, but I'm sure we'll go into all that detail soon.
Absolutely. Another weekend where the group therapy session that is Four Lads comes into effect. And as ever, I have to stick with our official title, which is the Queen of Four Lads and Rangers podcasting. Sheryl Ritchie, how you doing, Sheryl?
Do you know what? It's just one step forward, two steps back, isn't it? I remember the last time that we were together, I think I said I wasn't as worried about the old firm, etc. It was these games. And I cited this, and I think Motherwell as well is the ones that concerned me more, and we've seen this afternoon why. Depending on which way you look at it, I think I'm going to go with misfortune at the moment, but I had the misfortune of being there this afternoon, and like Mark, I think my heart rate is still on the way back down, but it was extremely poor in patches, but we'll come on to discuss that.
Yeah, sadly we are going to have to talk about the game today, unfortunately, but before we get into that, obviously, the last time we were on, we were talking about this run of games and how difficult it was going to be and what we needed to do to get through it. We'd obviously played Motherwell and Hearts before we got to today. And I guess, first of the disappointment, Mark, was probably that Motherwell result. And title races always have twists and turns, but you cannot continue to drop points like we've done against Motherwell and obviously today against Livi, like we'll talk on. But if we are going to make a good fist of this, we really need to start sorting out that away form, and we really need to do it quickly because there's only going to be 10 games left, isn't there?
Yeah, to be fair, in 2026, we've our away form has just not been good enough. I think we can even take into consideration Hibs as well. And yeah, normally a point here and there throughout the season is not the worst thing, but I think it's just the manner and how we've conducted ourselves throughout these games, including today. The Motherwell one, I was also in the post-match, but for me, I think, Motherwell are a decent side. They've had a very good run this season, and they've got a good footballing team. However, again, we started relatively well, like we did today, but then we seem to fall off, take our foot off the gas for some reason, and let these teams into it. The Motherwell game, I think the disappointing thing for me more than anything was the fact that we're 1-0 up, we're hanging on by a third against 10 men. I think that was a disappointing thing for me. I thought we were poor for most of that night. But again, it's just that away form that we seem to just dip in comparison to when we're playing at home. We just don't have that intensity for whatever reason that may be. But if we are serious and we are want to win this title, we need to shift that momentum when we are playing these games. I think in consideration, the Motherwell one, I think, is a tougher tie than what we had today. But these are the games that we need to win if we are seriously title contenders here.
Yeah, absolutely, Mark. And I think, Sheryl, I'm not one for criticising managers about team selections and stuff, but I think it's a good point that Mark raised, certainly from a Motherwell standpoint. The subs and the change in formation seem to impact us more against Motherwell than it actually had an impact on Motherwell, because we did go far too defensively. We sat back far too much, and we offered them a bit of hope. Against 10 men, you really should be on the front foot and causing them more problems. But the changes in tactics that Danny changed in that game probably didn't have the desired effect that he really wanted them to have.
No. Do you know, it was the wrong team, it was the wrong subs, and the subs came far too late as well. And that's something that I seen in the comments somebody mentioned in Suter and Gassama. For me, today, I thought he could have made a wee change at half-time because it wasn't working. It wasn't working really at any point in the first half today, and I think he could have gone a wee bit earlier with his subs again today. I think it got to a point this afternoon where he just was throwing everything at it, and I understand why, because at that point we were 2 down. But again, I think it's similar. He did it against Motherwell as well. You're looking to try and win the game late on, and you're bringing on Asgard. Do you know, he's not that battling man that you would want in the trenches with you, dragging you forward and trying to win a game late on. In fact, I could have probably been arrested for trying to get on the pitch and batter him today when he put that last shot in way over the bar with seconds to go. So I don't think he's immune to criticism. We spoke about him in the last time we were together, how well Danny Rule had done with the team, how much he'd managed to squeeze out of a team to get them to January, to get some reinforcements in. But I don't think he's immune to any kind of criticism.
Yeah, and I think he kind of gets a little bit of a bye, I guess, Mark, in the next game, because we go into Hearts and I was absolutely raging that I had to be away with work and didn't actually get to go to the game, but I managed to watch it back yesterday. You know, we gift Hearts 2 early goals in that first half, but we managed to hit back pretty quickly, which was really good to see. You know, you talk about resilience, and I think under a different manager in different years, we probably would have crumbled at that point and lost, and then the title race is well and truly over. But we can't keep making mistakes like we did against Hearts and as we'll touch on against Livi, because ultimately that's the things that are going to end up costing you.
No, I think for me, again, I was on post-match, but I thought the goals we lost were pretty poor. I'm trying to remember. I remember the Braga goal, and then obviously Fernandez and Raskin, obviously, and then can't remember who it was that scored, but it was a poor. Both goals we've lost were just absolutely criminal. But I think the manner how we came back in that, it's that flip to sort of that desire, that determination. I think the crowd had a massive part to play in that as well. I thought Ibrox was sensational last Sunday. I thought that drove the team on massively. In all fairness to them, Hearts had quite a bit of the ball in that in the second half, but for me, I thought, Jack Butland didn't have much to do. It was all in front of us rather than getting behind. And then, Big Chermiti, he's, and I think there's a little bit of criticism there today, but I think he needs that support with somebody up beside him. I don't think the lone striker works for him. And, looking at last week, he was absolutely sensational. His 3 goals were excellent, but I think collectively as a team and the way we moved the ball, I thought just the work rate across the board is just absolutely sensational. And to be fair to Hearts, they're absolutely flying this season. But I thought they shot the bed at Ibrox last week, if I'm honest. I think the atmosphere just got the better of them, and we were excellent.
Yeah, and I guess, Sheryl, Mark mentions Chermiti. He scored 5 goals, 2 against Celtic, 3 against Hearts. Decent record if you look at that in isolation. But it's the games like today where you need them to be putting one in the back of the net to be taking off pressure, and we've not really seen that level of consistency from him. Now, I think this is potentially where Danny starts to take a little bit of criticism because of the shape and stuff that he'll start with. We've kind of played our best football, if you like, against Queens and Hearts, scored 12 goals in those 2 games when we've run that kind of 4-2-2 variation. With the 2 up top, and then we've kind of dropped points away from home when we've gone 1 up. So it's going to be interesting to see how we can continue to be a bit more consistent, I guess, and support the strikers that we need to get goals.
Yeah, and do you know what? It's funny because Chermiti's almost emblematic of the rest of the team, isn't he? These big games where he shows up, we show up. Do you know what I mean? But the smaller games, he struggled today, but we struggled as a team within this as well. I have a wee bit of sympathy with Danny Rule because he alluded to the fact that he couldn't play Nadiri at Motherwell, or he was, I don't know if he just wasn't ready and he kept him with Hearts in mind, but I don't think we have the luxury of that. I think there is obviously a wee niggle with Nadiri as well, because I would have loved to have seen him start with 2 up front today. We spoke about Nadiri on the last pod as well, where we went into detail in the fact that he thrives up front, but he also, as well as taking his own chances, he desperately tries to bring other players into the game, and that's exactly what Chermiti needs. He really does need that. He needs somebody up there with him. So I don't know. Rule's been a wee bit kind of secretive about the thing with Nadiri. He spoke a wee bit about, I know we spoke about it in our group chat during the week, about the 2 or 3 players who were injured for a week or 2. And was it 2 or 3 players? Was it 2 or 3 weeks? We identified quickly that Sterling was one of them. But obviously, there's Nadiri's not fit to start as well, and we desperately need him because, like you said, the two up front works well. That's how I want us to keep playing.
Yeah, and I guess it brings us up to what we really need to talk about, which is the Livi game today. And I guess there was two changes to that starting lineup, just like Sheryl had said, Mark. Stelling and Nadiri dropping out, with having Gassama coming in. With all due respect to Livi, and yeah, we've just drawn with them. That lineup and that starting team should have been more than good enough to be able to put Livingston to the sword today. But I guess hindsight is a wonderful thing. Before the game, would you have changed anything with that lineup, or would you have liked to have seen something done differently, I guess?
I thought we would start with two up, just given how we'd done against Hearts the prior week and done that 4-2-2-2. I thought we would have just kept that consistently, given it's worked well in a couple of games we've played so far. And then when we do revert back to one, we seem to be a bit all over the place. So I thought we'd done that, just kept it consistent as what we played against Hearts. Obviously, Sterling, I don't mind Tav coming into these games. I think he's still got enough in the tank to do a job. I don't think he can play like 2 games a week. And I think next week, if Sterling's fit, I would rather play him than Tav if my idea is going to play on the left. So just for pace more than anything else. But like today, I don't mind Tav coming in. I thought I actually played quite well, in all fairness. But I thought it was against Livingston, they've not had a win. I think their last win was in August this season. So they've only had one win all season. For me, you've just got to put them to the sword early doors. And I thought just starting the two up top, we just started that impetus and take it from there. But Gassama, I think there's question marks around him. I think his attitude. I think you've seen it against Hearts last week when he's coming off the bench. He's definitely that impact player. He's got the pace. He can go by boys. And I think when you've got the last 20 minutes when teams are tiring, he could definitely exploit that. But today, I've got a lot of questions about Gassama, if I'm honest. Just his attitude all round was just pretty appalling. And then he's also coming off. I thought he stayed on far too long. I thought he should came off earlier. I know Scove Olsen came off at half time and questions around his performance as well. But between the two, I think Scove Olsen gives you a lot more than what Gassama does. So I was surprised that he stayed on as long as he did today.
Yeah, it was going to be a point I brought up there, Sheryl. Because you look at the three that are behind Chavite, Olsen, Moore, and Gassama. They should be providing good opportunities and be able to break a team like Livi down. Yet we see this continually, that certain players seem to really, really struggle. Now, Olsen is coming in new. He's got to do a lot more. We've obviously seen a little glimpse against Hearts about the type of player that he potentially could be, which was really good. But he hasn't played much football in, since November. He should be up to speed now and be contributing a lot more. And just like Mark said, Gassama has been one of the biggest disappointments because there's so much talent in there, but we just don't see it enough. And these are the types of games where we need that spark, especially in the final third, to stick something away when we're needing a goal to kind of get ourselves in front.
Yeah. And you know what? I like Mark, I was really surprised. I think it was 70 minutes that Gassama lasted until, and I know that Scove Olsen, a lot of people in the comments are saying he did nothing. I thought he didn't do a lot, but he offered more than Gassama. Gassama, for me, his passing was really poor. He just always looked to take the easy option. And a lot of times, and I don't know if it's just his general demeanour, but he looks so petulant as well. I just thought he was really, really poor today. I was quite excited at the thought of seeing Moore as a 10. I know that's where he's better through the middle, and we've seen his goal, but there was just nothing going up front, particularly in that first half. And the goalie was fantastic. He really did have a world day, but I think in a lot of times we actually made it quite easy for him because our finishing was really, really poor.
Yeah, and it's quite ironic because I think we actually started the game. So I haven't watched the first half back yet. I was out listening to the first half, but we get that early chance, Mark, with a set piece, well worked. Romans gets a header and Pryor, I'm going to call him. I'm not even going to try and pronounce the accent in a French accent if that's what it is. But he's made a cracking save onto the post and it's cleared. That should have been the marker for us to then go on and dominate the game, shouldn't it?
But in all fairness, I thought we actually started first 10, 12 minutes pretty well. We dominated. We were, our passing was quite crisp. We got into decent areas. I think that chance, we had a couple of corners. Like I said, I thought we moved the ball pretty well on that pitch, and we got into reasonable areas. And Romans, I could go on about him all day. He picked up some decent positions as well. He put in a good ball for Chimete, where I think he could do better with his actual first touch. But his chance itself, the goalie's pulled off a good save. And to be fair, the goalie had a really good day, to be fair, probably game of the season, but that's typical against us. But you're right, it's that then setting the benchmark to then just kick on. But then the usual, we shoot ourselves in the foot and then we're chasing the game before you know it.
Yeah, it's like we almost know what comes next in this script, isn't it, Sheryl? It takes a turn for the worse on the 14th minute, where we give away a really stupid soft free kick to let Livi get a whipped ball into the back post for Kabongolo. Hopefully I've got that name right. Who, to be fair, it does an absolutely cracking finish, but it begs the question about our players' contact at set pieces and stuff. He should never be able to make as clean a contact as he does for that strike to put us 1-0 down, should he?
Yeah, and do you know what? I think both of them today, the second one was probably Tav and Suter, but that first one was Suter just giving away a really, really stupid foul. And as we said before we came on, Rob, it was the same with that second Hearts goal. I know a lot of people were quite pleased to see him get another year. For me, I think he can be really poor. I think you always hear that thing about Suter, that he's that siege, that backs against the wall defender. Yeah, I get that, but I don't think he offers us much more. I know Roland might be looking for a wee bit of continuity. We know the issues with the defence next year. But I just think today they were really, really poor. I was a wee bit disappointed. I thought we didn't defend the set piece very well, but we also did nothing with our set pieces today as well. And we've come to rely on them really, really heavily recently, but today we got absolutely nothing from them. So as well as defending them really, really poorly, we took nothing from them.
Yeah, it's somebody's just made the comment in the chat there about the 16 corners that Tav took 14 of them, and we didn't really make the most of those deliveries, and it's a shame because against a stuffy team like Livi, set pieces are potentially where you can nick a goal, Mark, isn't it? And ultimately, the big man who might be better playing as a striker, Fernandez, did get a goal for us, but we didn't look threatening at all from them. And to be fair to Livi, they defended with their lives in that first half as well.
No, absolutely. And it took me back to, I think it was the St Johnstone game a couple of seasons ago, if you remember. We had about 30, 15, 20 corners and had all these chances but didn't take them. And it just seemed to be, I think we got a bit desperate at times. We were just lumping in and hoping for the best. And to be fair, I think you're right, Rob, where Livi defended superbly today. They're putting their bodies on the line and then getting balls away here and there. But I think we just need, we've had a lot of praise for Scott Fry, and rightly so. We just, in terms of that creativity, different variations in terms of corners, free kicks. But today it just seemed to be put in the box and hope for the best, and hopefully someone will nick it. But I think you're right, where Livi were just first to most balls, putting their bodies on the line, and fair play on them. They defended relatively well, but we just need a bit more creativity, a bit of imagination. And we just lacked it today, to be honest.
Yeah, and I guess this is where for this game I'm thinking the manager got it wrong as well, Sheryl, because he makes that change at half time, and when you're looking for magic, he turns to Bojan Miovski of all people after replacing Scott Olsen. But I think it's more to go back to that 4-2-2-2 and stick Miovski up with Chimete. But I don't know if you felt the same in the stadium, but I thought that was a little bit of recognition for the manager that he maybe didn't get the starting shape quite right. But like somebody said in the comment, with all due respect to Livi, it shouldn't really matter what shape we play. We should be beating Livi, unfortunately.
I get that. I haven't seen, I must be honest, I haven't seen much of Livi other than when we were there in, I think, September time. And I know that they did relatively well at Parkhead as well. But see, for me, the kind of unforgivable thing today, and I don't know if you've seen it as well, lads, or thought this way, to me, it looked like they just wanted it more. there was more urgency. They played with a sense of urgency. They wanted to move the ball a bit quicker. We were just dead passive. And the thing I didn't understand, I know that Scovolson's not played a lot of football. I know that he had a limited impact. But for me, if you're putting on two up front, then you would put Nadiri on first, because Nadiri came after. So Nadiri was obviously able to play a good portion of that second half. You're not going to get that fight with Miovski. I still think he's I'm going to put it politely, a wee bit of chicken in 50-50 balls. There was a couple of times today that I was losing the plot with him, because he was going in one-on-one and the other player, the Livingston player, got it every single time. So for me, I think he made a mistake with that one. Maybe 10, 15 minutes later, he brought on Nadiri. Just bring on Nadiri first rather than bringing on Miovski before him. I think he made a mistake there. But I'm also sorry, I'm seeing in the comments as well, I think we underestimated Livi today. I think we went there, and I think we underestimated how well they can defend and how well organised they were and how up for it they were as well.
I know. I mean, I definitely think there's a bit of that, Cheryl. And interestingly, I was making that comment about Miovski tongue in cheek, because apart from a shot when he just first came on that the Livi keeper saved fairly well, I don't think he really did much at all in the game, to be honest. If I hadn't have seen that he came on at half time, I don't think that I would have been able to say that he was on the pitch towards the end of the game during that second half, which I guess it says everything about his contribution today. But just like Cheryl, it'd be interesting to hear if Nadiri did have an injury or something. But the fact that he came on and he's fit enough for the bench, he should have been fit enough to play 45 if the manager called him upon him.
Yeah, I agree. I don't get. I think again it's another question mark around Miovski, Chimete, Gassama. We can go through a number of players, and Miovski's one probably the biggest disappointment, given the impact he had in the league before he left to go to Girona in Spain. He's just not contributed enough for me. Yeah, he got his hat-trick against and you think, go and kick on, you got Danny Rio in the building, we're getting wins and building a bit of momentum, but it's just not happened. And like you said, he had that one effort, but other than that, I think Cheryl's right, he's a bit heartless for me. He's a big lad, and when that ball's there to be won, put your body in the line and put yourself in amongst it, but he just doesn't. And he said, what's he actually contributing to the team when he's on the pitch? Not very much. And then it goes back to that question, if Nadiri's fit enough to come on for half an hour, whatever it may be, why is he not involved from half time? If it's not working, which clearly it wasn't, he's then reverted to the two up top. Do what's been working. Look at how we played against Hearts with Nadiri and Chimete up front. Go back to it and then see where it takes us. But for some reason we've gone with Miovski. As I said, he's one effort he's had, and then from there it's really not much. But other than that, for me, he's not doing enough. And I think it goes back to that point. If Nadiri's got enough minutes in him to contribute for half an hour, then what's the difference between that and 45 minutes? I don't know.
Aye. And I think this is where the frustration comes in again, because it's the 55th minute that we then get the second gut punch of the afternoon. And this goal really frustrated me when I was watching it, because the boy Smith is like nobody anywhere near marking him. It's a simple reverse pass to him, and it's a decent goal for him. But another example where you could say two mistakes from our defence and team collectively have cost us 2 goals, and you cannot have any idea of winning a title if that is the way that you're going to continue to play defensively. And that's what's going to end up killing us, Cheryl, isn't it? If we continue to gift goals and chances like this, because Livi took them today, but if a better team will create more and score more against us if we're going to continue to defend like that.
But here's the thing. I know I'm going to kind of go against myself here, because we gave away 2 really stupid goals against Hearts, but so a lot of those mistakes we don't make as much against the better teams. Do you know, we were just so lethargic and passive today, and that second goal came from a fuck-up between Tav and Suter. I think it was a free kick, wasn't it? He gave away the free kick. It went away, I think it went against the wall, or we cleared it, and it went out to the edge of the box, and it was actually right in front of us. and nobody's closing him down. That guy, I can't remember who it was. I know he crossed the ball into Smith, but he had all the time in the world to put that ball into the box. Nobody went anywhere near him, and we were screaming to get out and close him down. Nobody did. They put the ball right in, and it's really easy finished. Again, that goes back to the point I made that we're giving away these. We're not defending these set pieces well at all. Really, really poor.
Yeah, and I guess that's where both players and coaches are going to have to take a wee bit of responsibility to work on that, because ultimately we've got another 2 big games coming up. We need to be tight on that, otherwise we're going to get punished. And the games coming up will have a real material impact on what we do and whether we can continue in this title race. I guess, Mark, we get a little.
Ask you, I'm sorry to interrupt you guys. We're talking about the subs. One person that I did think had a wee bit of an impact when they came on was Bajrami. He was actually dead direct, and I know it was later on in the game. Was it 79? Did he come on for Gassama? I think.
No, Gassama, was it him? I don't know. I'll need to go and double check. I can't remember, but yeah.
I think he came on for Gassama, but he was actually really direct and had that. And I know it was later on and we were pushing, but he looked far better. He had far more of an impact, I think, than Gassama did.
Yeah, no, 79th minute he did come on. Sheryl, it was Gassama. That was good ball knowledge. But I know, I think he did have a bit more of an impact. But then, how many times have we seen that where Gassama started a game and he hasn't had the impact? For me, I think his best performances sometimes have come from the bench, where he's been more of that impact player. Opposition players are tired, he can run them a wee bit more. The other thing is, a lot of teams double up on him, and we've got Scott Olsen on the right hand side who hasn't actually kind of hit the heights yet. So the pressure's still on Gassama to try and beat 2 men every time he's got the ball. But this is the frustrating thing for me. If 2 are teaming up on Gassama, we move the ball quickly, we can exploit the space, because it means that there's going to be an opportunity to attack a different area of the pitch, Mark. And it comes back to what we were saying at the start. You know, the Hibs game, they looked like they wanted it more when we drew with them at Easter Road. Motherwell wanted it more when we played them, and it looked like Livi wanted it more today. You know, if players can't get themselves up for these away games, which are the ones where you've really got to graft and kind of throw everything at and concentrate for the full 90 minutes, we've got no right to consider ourselves to be in a title race. You know, the players need to give themselves a wee bit of a shake here now and realise that these are the games they need to win. Not the games against your Hearts and the games coming up against Celtic. It's the run-of-the-mill SPFL, Livi, Falkirk, and the wee teams, as we call them, that they need to be stepping up and winning, especially away from home, because that's where picking up the points really matters.
Absolutely. And for me, I'll use an old football cliche, but when you're battle first, you know what I mean, talent-wise, we've got more than enough quality across the park, but, you know what I mean, you've got to win that battle first. And, you know, for me, these other games, you look back to older times, but, you know what I mean, you take your Marwells where you would win like 2-1, whatever it may be. And I just feel that now we've got a shift in terms of, we've had the new signings coming in January. We've had a bit of a lift and we've had a couple of decent results, but the waveform still hasn't picked up. But I think there's quality in there. I think for me, though, we've got enough boys who have been around the block long enough. That might be a detriment to us in terms of, if you look at prior seasons when we've went on a run and then we fall away. Some of the boys have been involved in that in prior seasons. They have been. However, I think you're absolutely spot on, where if we are serious title contenders here, this is our bread and butter. Like the big games, you know what I mean, all the players will be up for it. I think you just need to look at Parkhead away at the end in the year there. You know, we were absolutely outstanding in the second half and the boys took care of the business. But these are the games, you know what I mean, that will win the title. They don't need to be pretty. Sometimes you should turn up, win the battle, you know what I mean, scrape a 1-0, whatever it may be, and find a way of winning. And we were doing that, in all fairness. You know, if I think of the time prior to January, you know, we were scraping even a number of goals. We were just going for set pieces. We actually had a major problem with goals in open play. You know, I think we went on quite a number of games outscoring in open play. But for me, it's sometimes just, you know, if we don't have that quality on the park, or you're up against that battle, just finding a way of winning. And if we're putting ourselves in a position where you're 2-0 down, like we did today, then it's a massive uphill battle from there. And I know we had a number of chances in that today, and we dominated the ball, etc. But I think Sheryl was spot on earlier when she mentioned about being too passive. I think sometimes, if we have got that low block, or you've got teams doubling up on players, opening up, shifting to the other side, just a bit of tempo in the play. I mean, then you can then start creating and opening chances. But I think sometimes we cause our own downfall here by, I think, even going back to that second goal when Sheryl was going through it, the lack of leadership throughout with that goal as well. We win the header, we clear out. Nobody's organising. We just run it all in a straight line. Boys three on the left-hand side. The boys able to bring it down. Player man sets himself up and he finishes it well. But how on earth you go like 10, 12 yards out in the box and have all that time? Who's organising in there? Absolutely no one. And I think it goes back to that question with Suter. I think it's a decent business in terms of signing a new contract. But does he in my back four moving forward? Possibly not, but I think that's one for obviously the summer where we look at obviously doing a bit of business in there. I think he's a decent squad player and he's actually had a decent run, but he's got that mistake in him. That's the problem here. And I think they look at the fouls that both Livi's goals came from Suter's fouls. Just needs to manage that better where the boys run, for the second one in particular, he's run out of the park. He's going nowhere yet. We bring him down for no reason, and then from there they obviously get the goal. But that lack of leadership throughout is probably a concern for me, in particular with that second goal. Just no one organising.
Yeah, and I agree with you on the Suter point, mate, because I think homegrown player, good option to have as a squad player. But if we go into next season with him as one of our main centre halves, I will be absolutely distraught because I think he's always got a mistake in him. I think he's got to take responsibility for the Braga goal. It's a great header, don't get me wrong, but I think he's got to be stronger in that position as well. He's a big lumpy centre half. He cannot be getting bullied off a striker like Braga. And you talk about moving the ball quick. I guess we should really get the opportunity to do that, Sheryl, from the 60th minute on when the Montano gets sent off for Livi. Probably the one thing that I remember Gazzama doing, taking that tackle through the back. But at that point, I'm thinking, right, we're now going to ramp up the pressure. We're going to have an opportunity here to make the park a little bit bigger, make Livi work and tile them out. And it takes us 21 minutes before we actually make a breakthrough and use that man advantage. So bloody frustrating that it takes us so long to do that.
I know. And do you know what? I was looking at my notes as well because I came in and I kind of put down everything. I'm moaning about Gazzama, but it was actually him that won that free kick, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. So we did produce something, but just not very much. It's just, do you know, the biggest kind of worry for me is we're not playing like champions. Like that's not, and it's not great to say it out loud, but that's not a champion's performance. Today, we've touched on it before, the passing was woeful. We just looked there. It's almost to me as if we turned up expecting to win there. And we kind of said it earlier, we underestimated Livingston, and it was really poor, just that lack of urgency, complete lack of urgency. As you say, Rob, even from that point onward, you expect them to really, really go for it. And again, I don't know, maybe we are kind of being unfair to Livingston because they were really, really well organised. But again, they are where they are for a reason. They're at the bottom of the table and they haven't won since, I think, the 25th of August or something, for a reason. So we actually made them look pretty good today as well with how poor we were. But again, the three of us have said it, just that complete lack of urgency and almost nobody being willing to step up and grab the game by the scruff of the neck and pull us on.
Yeah. And that's the frustration thing, because if we do that a little bit earlier, Mark, 7 minutes later, we're level. A nice little ball in for Tav, great wee header for Moore as he glances at the back of the net. But you do that 10 minutes earlier in the 71st and the 78th minute, all of a sudden you're potentially going to have 20 minutes of the game left with the added time that we end up getting to go and get the winner, rather than it being a kind of last 9 minute, 10 minute throw the dice, which it seemed to become.
I think that's it, and I think for me it's back to that point in terms of how quickly we're moving the ball, and the fact that Livi were down to 10 men. Sorry, I think the frustrating part for me was just how quickly we're moving the ball. We're too slow that Livi, even down to 10, were able to shift across back and forth, and it was pretty easy playing. And we got a bit desperate, just flinging balls into the box. I mentioned it earlier in terms of hoping for the best. in terms of the first goal, Fernandez finishes it well. It's obviously dropped to him, and it's a great finish. And I think Chermiti should actually do that in the first half when it drops to him. He hits it low against straight at the goalkeeper, where he just needs to lift it a bit higher. And that obviously that brings it back to 1-1. But Fernandez, it's a great finish. And the second one, Barami and Tav linking up, moving the ball well, puts in a great ball, and Moore shifts across in front of the defender. It's a great glancing header into the far corner. Keeper's got absolutely no chance. But as I say, the goalie's pulled off some great saves, but just our lack of composure in front of goal, and then just how we moved the ball across that final third at times, just I think that spot in there just wasn't ruthless enough.
And then you'd think that the game would maybe peter out, and it would finish 2-2, and there wouldn't be any other talking points. But there's probably a little instant that we're going to need to cover, and I'll let both of you come in and give me your thoughts on it. But it's obviously Moore racing on it. I think it was Miovski's header. Somebody said in the chat as I've been reading it, who breaks towards the box and he's fouled by Cammy Kerr. Now, my big frustration with this, in real time watching that, I called foul, and the frustration here is that we've got so many referees in Scotland now that rely on VAR correcting their mistakes that they don't make decisions in real time. And the big controversy of this is going to be whether people think it's a penalty. Taking the penalty bit aside for one moment, I think it's more the red card conversation that I'm frustrated with VAR not picking up, because if you look at when Mikey Moore gets impacted, he's actually in the process of hitting the shot. There's nobody that's going to be coming across to block that. And we've seen examples of red cards given for denying goal scoring opportunities like that this year. So at the very least, my gripe with VAR on this isn't about whether it's a penalty inside the box or that sort of stuff or not just now. My gripe is that at the very least, they should have been pulling that back for denying a goal scoring opportunity and a red card to Livi. I guess, Sheryl, you were at the game. I'll come to you to get your thoughts on what you felt real time, and then I'm assuming you'll have been able to see it back and stuff.
Do you know what? Right, everybody around me, we said at the time, that's a penalty. That's a really, really clear penalty. And watching it, I've only seen it once since I got back, but there's actually, it gets him twice. There's kind of 2 points of contact when I've been watching it being slowed down, because he gets the back of his leg first and then he clips him as he's going to take the shot as well. So for me, it's a no-brainer. And you know what? The biggest kind of outrage is we're living in a world where Chris Sutton says that it's a penalty kick and it's still not given. Do you know? And they looked at it for so long as well. It's just beyond me. I don't know. I don't get it. It's, and it's not just us. We see time and week in, week out, there's just really piss poor decisions made all over Scotland with refereeing decisions. But this could, this is potentially title changing. Do you know, we know that there's a very good chance that Tav steps up, he takes that penalty, and we win that game 3-2. Now, that is not that we played very poorly. We've spent 37 minutes discussing how poorly we played today, but that's a major decision that could have a massive impact on our season. You know, we didn't leave that game today saying, oh, that's terrible. The only reason we lost that is we weren't given a penalty. We know that we were poor, but ultimately that's a decision that could cost us the title. And it's all right. And look, there'll have been other teams as well. I think, was it St Mirren? Was there a red card at St Mirren yesterday that was meant to be an absolute shambles? So it's not just us that's been impacted by that. But then you have to ask yourself the question, well, had that happened elsewhere in the West Coast, in a West Coast game of football today, had that same incident happened in another ground, would that have been given as a penalty? Very probably, yes. So then that takes you, you don't want to go all tinfoil hat about it. But it's horrendous. It's a really, really poor decision that could have a massive impact on where the league goes.
Yeah. Mark, any comments from you on that one, mate? It'd be good to get your opinion.
I'm going to keep it clean because when it happened at the time, let's just say the language is quite inappropriate. However, I think
we've got to be professional, Mark. So just course, yes, that's
nothing. That's all we get on this show. But I think for me, I think initially how the referee's not giving it, and I think you're absolutely spot on, Rob, where the referees now are too reliant on VAR, where their own decision making is out the window now, and they're overly reliant on it. How he's not given it just in the first place, for me, I think is absolutely madness. I think Sheryl's point is absolutely spot on. How he's cut across, his initial first contact is hit Moore, and then the second, I think it's his right legs that inflicts the ball, but the initial contact's taking Moore out. Moore's about to hit the strike, so it's denying a goal scoring opportunity. And the fact it goes to VAR as long as it does, for me, and in the decisions, nothing. I just find this absolutely mind-blowing. And I think Sheryl's absolutely spot on here, where this impact on the title race could be massive here. And we weren't great today. And to be fair, I think if we took away 3 points, it would be a little bit harsh on Livi. But I don't care. Still 3 points to us, and that's all that matters for me. And that decision-making there, and the fact it's gone on in VAR as long as it did, and nothing given, is an absolute disgrace. What I will say, and I've seen a tweet from, I think it's a Quiet Kid, I quite like him on X, and he put about the VAR audio. It'll be interesting to see if that ever comes out and exactly what was discussed throughout that time, because that went on for a long, long time. They're also discussing the ref and obviously having their conversations in the VAR room, and nothing to come out of that. And it's clear as day. The fact Chris Sutton comes out and says it's a penalty, that is pretty damning, and we get nothing from that. Absolute criminal for me, and I'll keep it as clean as I can. That's where I'll go with it.
I think, as you say, I think it's some kind of weird twilight zone where we're all agreeing with Chris Sutton today, rather than Chris Boyd. That Sky money certainly does some weird things to your brain, I guess. But like you said, Sheryl, we've just highlighted the shortcomings that we had. I think this is a game that we should be winning regardless of refereeing decisions, and it's all on us about how we played and how we attacked that game today. We've bemoaned the lack of quality in that final third all season. I think today is another example of not taking the chances that we created, albeit that their keeper had made some really, really good saves. But we've got 10 games to go now, Sheryl. We're in the final throes of this chase. We cannot afford any more slip-ups now, can we?
No. And again, I know we've spoken about it and there's been comments about it. I'm not exactly sure what's going on with Nadiri, but any time that we can play him and have him starting up front, ideally with Chimiti, you have to go with that. If we can't now keep anyone, and I think that's the mistake that he made possibly against Livingston. Again, I don't know. He was talking quite cryptically before Motherwell, wasn't he? That there, he thought he was going to play a team and then he had to change it at the last minute, but he didn't actually come out and tell us. We all alluded to it being Nadiri, but we just have to go for it. I think for me, I know we've spoken about him. I think you're looking at players like Gassama as your impact player. And I would actually say somebody else made a good point in the comment as well. I'd mentioned Bajrami, another impact player that can come on as well, but we need to start with our strongest team. We need to get everybody out there. We can't keep anybody back. So wherever possible, we need to have the best 11 on the pitch at all times.
Yeah, I'd completely agree with that. And I guess, Mark, it's even more important given the next 2 games that are coming up. The visit of a certain side to Ibrox, both in league and in cup, is going to make for a very interesting week of football that we've got coming up. Getting the team selection right and the attitude right from the off in these games is going to be pretty important for these players, especially given the other manager there has got a really good knack of being able to gee these players up for games like this. So it's going to be interesting to see how Danny Rule approaches certainly the first game at Ibrox next weekend.
I think now we're in the last 10 games. We're pretty much playing a game a week now. It's start your strongest 11. We're not having any midweek games, so we're not needing to rest boys. Playing every 3-4 days, whatever it may be. Start your strongest 11, go for the jugular for me. We're at that point now where I would rather we went all out and see where it takes us and try to be safe. And I think for me, it's just not working. It's not worked. So start the 2 up top. We see how effective it's been, especially at Ibrox last weekend against Hearts. And given how they are defensively, they're rank rotten. So, and Schmeichel just hit the ball and see where it takes us. For me, Ibrox will be rocking as it always is. I think I'll play a fact as well, but we've just got to get at them from the off. The fact that we win this and we win the following weekend, I think it breaks him. I genuinely think it breaks him. You know, you just need to see what's going on over the other side of the city in terms of the crowds, you know, the boycotting, etc. You know what I mean? They're chucking in the towel. In fact, if we beat them this weekend, next Sunday and the following week, they will chuck in the towel. And then it's just a matter of focusing on Hearts. But I'm pretty, even though it's been a bit of a shit show today, I'm still actually confident. It's pretty funny being a Rangers fan, actually, but I actually have belief that we will get a result. I think we'll be up for it for the off. You know, we've got a number of boys who've been in this. You think of the Parkhead game back in New Year there, where, you know, we didn't start well, but we come out the second half with our tails up. We got at them, and you've seen that they're not a good team. But I think we need to do that for the off. None of this, you know, giving silly free kicks away, you know, making the mistakes we've referenced earlier. We just cannot afford that next week. And I think if we get them from the off, then for me, you know what I mean, I think we'll take the result. But even with Martin, I see them Martin O'Neill in charge, they're still shy at the back. I'm not going to lie, they're terrible. So it doesn't matter who's in charge, they're shit.
I'm loving it, Mark. I guess, Sheryl, the only thing that today's result does, which is really frustrating, is it means that even if we win all the games that we've got left, we still need Hearts to drop points now, which is a position that probably a few months ago we would have taken, but where we'd started to see an upturn in results, I think it's probably disappointing that we're now reliant on other teams to take points off them, and it's no longer in our hands.
Yeah, I know, and that's what I'm dead disappointed with, because unfortunately, and it's not great saying it out loud, but Hearts actually are playing like champions at the moment. And that's what's concerning me greatly. I think I said at the beginning of the pod, for us, it's always just like one step forward and two steps back. That performance and the result and the high that we were all on last Sunday was absolutely magnificent. To have shot ourselves in the foot like we did this afternoon, we now are relying on other teams. And listen, it's like, at what point in the pod does somebody say there is going to be twists and turns? It's like twist and turns bingo. Somebody has to say it at least once, so I'll do it at 47-10. And there will be. I mean, that's why everybody's saying it, because there will be. But we are just so unreliable at times that we contribute to our own twists and our own turns, unfortunately. And then we're left in this really poor position, having to hope that other teams do us a favour as well against a Hearts team that are just digging out and grinding out results, and unfortunately for us, playing like champions at the moment.
Well, you cast all my thunder a wee bit there, Sheryl, because I was just about to say there's going to be more twists and turns, but yeah, you beat
faster,
lad. Absolutely. But it does take us to look a wee bit forward to the games between the split now. You know, and I guess we've got them coming to visit us at home, St Mirren away, Aberdeen and Dundee United at home, and then Falkirk away. You know, Hearts have got Aberdeen at home, away to Killie, Dundee at home, away to Livi, and then Motherwell at home. I guess the only problem with looking at those fixtures, Mark, is that out of them, the only game that you could probably see Hearts dropping points in is Motherwell, and that's a bit of a position for us to be in, isn't it? But if they do, we've just got to make sure that we take maximum points from the league games that we've got coming up, so that we can capitalise on it when they do.
I'm really new McCann as well. I think he might do us a favour at Killie. I think that might be not as easy. They're doing all right under him. I'm not getting too carried away in terms of where we'll be at the split, because I predicted 4 games, and I'm not even near close. My predictions are well at the window, so hence why I never win a coupon every week. So couldn't pick my nose. So it's one of these where I get that we're saying Hearts, like, obviously we've got them to drop points. Again, I'll go back to old cliche, but we need to focus on ourselves. My worry is I think the home games will take care of themselves, but the away games and how we've performed in 2026 is just how we've not got for the battle win. I think when we look in today, we just put today into perspective. Bottom of the league, Cheryl's reference there in terms of not won since August, and you know they're sitting bottom of the table. They're there for a reason. And the fact that we couldn't get ourselves up, we're giving them a 2-goal advantage, chasing the game, and then even when they're down to 10 men, we're still, you know, it's taking us to 81 minutes to get that first goal, and then even at that, we're still chasing. That's my worry. St Mirren away, and then Falkirk away as well, where we, you know, if we're seriously thinking about this title, then these are games we should be rocking up, rolling up our sleeves, and just getting stuck in for the off. But we seem to just lack it right now, and that's my worry. Not the home games. I think, you know, we turn up and we played relatively well, kept a number of clean sheets, in particular at home. It's just our away form, you know. We've just dropped too many points, and draws in particular has been the one that's killed us so far. But look, I'm still optimistic. Today was a little blip, and I'll go back to it where I feel, you know, I mean, come the weekend, I think, you know, we'll all be up for it. The ground will be rocking, as I've mentioned. You know, the next 2 weeks are absolutely huge in terms of the Scottish Cup as well. And then when we go back to league business, it's just making sure we continue that momentum as we go on. You know, thinking the last week against Hearts, the place is absolutely rocking. You think, here we go, you know, we're right in this, and let's see where it takes us. And then just to turn up and play in the manner how we did today, it's just so frustrating.
Last word to you, Sheryl. Are you sharing the optimism that Mark has? How are you thinking that we're going to get through the next few games?
Do you know, I think, like I said on the last pod, the bigger games take care of themselves. I'm not actually that worried about them. It's your St Mirren's and Falkirks where we seem to go in with this relaxed attitude and shoot ourselves in the foot. And I don't know, for me, I'm a wee bit worried about that mentality. That's what worries me, because like Mark says, we're at Ibrox, we've got the crowd behind us, do you know, there's the TV coverage. We've seen that atmosphere at Hearts. We've seen the impact that we as a support base, as a crowd, had on the players. So we're going to have that. That's going to be there in spades for the Old Firm match. And don't get me wrong, the atmosphere today was great. The fans were brilliant. It was a good atmosphere, but the players don't seem to feed from that as much as they do in these big occasions. And unfortunately for me, that's the hallmark of champions that can go into all of these games and just get the job done, where we're not doing it. I think it's 13 points out of possible 24 away from home that we've got. So there's where our big problem is. I'm going to try my best to be optimistic. And I'm going to say, I'm going to be with Mark. We'll be fine. It'll all be good. Twists and turns, bingo. We've said it. We've named it. We're fine.
Absolutely. Well, on that positive note, we're coming to the end. But before I finish, I need to give another massive thank you to our Sunday show main sponsor, Local Dart Shop Online, for supporting us this season. I also need to give a massive thanks to all the other supporters and sponsors of the Four Lads pod. Rhino Express, Clydeview Fire Protection and Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions, CSD Air Conditioning, and our very own Candid, as well as our partners over at Black Rooster and Art of Gold. Mark, thank you very much for coming on. Thank you for helping us with this therapy session. It's been good.
I'm feeling a little bit better now than what I did about an hour or so ago, but no, just thanks for having me. I just wanted to give a shout out to my dad as well. He's had quite a difficult week in with himself and what's happened with his wife. So just wanted to say I'm thinking of him, and I've had a good few days with him being back in Scotland. So just was calling out on that.
We all send our best wishes as well, Mark. So hopefully he continues to be okay, mate. Sheryl, as ever, the Queen, thank you for coming on.
I'm now more worried than I was when I started this pod. So I've gone the opposite way. I'm now like, whereas I was actually relatively calm. I think it's just all brought it to the surface. But therapy can do that. So thank you. I'll go away and get on with my mum life, and that'll sort everything out. Can I say thank you to you guys? But can I also say thank you to the lovely people in the comments? I think we've had some brilliant comments and some really nice interactions tonight as well, which is what makes the pod as well. So thank you very much, guys. It's been lovely.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, all that's left for me to do is to thank everybody as well. Sheryl, you know, all these people tune in live, they listen back via the normal podcast sources or watch it again on YouTube. You know, we really do appreciate the support that you show us, and hope that you continue to share the pod and support us as we continue to cover Rangers and all the twists and turns that they put us through. If you do want to become a member, there should be a QR code somewhere. I'm not even going to attempt to try and point it out on the screen, but you can subscribe. We've got loads of extra shows, etc., that we put out to members. The Baldies will be back tomorrow night with the flagship show. The Sunday show will be back next Sunday where Scott will resume hosting duties alongside myself, Cheryl, and maybe we might even have the lesser spotted Doogie making an appearance as well to join us again. But all that's left for me to say is appreciate everybody tuning in. Have a good evening, folks, and hopefully we are discussing a win in the Old Firm on next weekend show. Take care.
The Four Lads podcast is sponsored by Rhino Express, Clydeview Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions Limited, and CSD Air Conditioning, in partnership with Black Rooster and Art of Gold. Thank you for listening to or watching the podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show.